Good day, everyone. Once again, we are Group 7, and today we are going to tackle Peter Singer's practical ethics, particularly in climate change. For the introduction, Peter Albert David Singer, born July 6, 1946, is an Australian moral philosopher and the Ira W. DeCamp Professor of Bioethics at Princeton University. He specializes in applied ethics, approaching the subject from a secular utilitarian perspective. He is best known for his work on animal rights and global poverty and is the author of several influential books on these topics, including Animal Liberation and The Life You Can Save. Singer's work has been highly controversial, but it has also been widely influential. He is considered to be one of the founding fathers of the modern animal rights movement, and his arguments about the moral status of animals have been widely debated. He is also a prominent advocate for effective altruism, the movement that encourages people to donate to charities that are most effective at helping others. Singer has been awarded numerous honors for his work, including the Albert Schweitzer Prize for Humanitarianism and the Peace Abbey Courage of Conscience Award. He was also named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world in 2009. Here are some of Peter Singer's key ideas. First is utilitarianism. Singer is a utilitarian philosopher, which means that he believes that the right action is the one that produces the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Next is animal rights. Singer believes that animals are sentient beings who deserve moral consideration. He argues that we should not exploit or kill animals for food, clothing, or entertainment. And third one is global poverty. Singer believes that we have a moral obligation to help people who are in need, even if they are strangers. He argues that we should donate to charities that are most effective at helping the poorest people in the world. Singer's work has had a significant impact on the way that we think about a wide range of ethical issues. He is a challenging and thought-provoking thinker, and his work continues to be widely debated and discussed. So, Peter Singer's Practical Ethics. Practical Ethics is a book by the moral philosopher Peter Singer. It is an introduction to applied ethics, the branch of ethics that deals with the application of moral principles to specific situations. The book has been translated into several languages and has been widely used as a textbook in ethics courses. In Practical Ethics, Singer examines several ethical issues, including the moral status of animals, abortion, euthanasia, infanticide, embryo experimentation, political violence, overseas aid, the environment, equality and disability, refugee rights, and climate change. Singer argues that we should extend moral consideration to all beings who are capable of suffering, regardless of their species, race, sex, or disability. He also argues that we have a moral obligation to help others who are in need, even if they are strangers. Practical Ethics is a challenging and thought provoking book. It has been praised for its clarity, its rigor, and its willingness to tackle controversial issues. It also has been it has also been criticized for its utilitarianism and its lack of attention to the role of emotions in moral decision making. Despite its critics, Practical Ethics is a classic work of applied ethics. It has influenced the way that philosophers and policymakers think about a wide range of ethical issues. It is an essential text for anyone interested in the application of moral principles to the real world.
Climate change. Climate change refers to the long-term alteration of temperature and weather patterns on Earth, primarily caused by human activities that release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. It involves changes in the Earth's climate system, including variation in temperature, precipit- precipitation, wind patterns, and other factors. These changes have significant impacts on ecosystem, weather events, sea levels, and human health. It's widely known that climate change is primarily caused by human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels such as coal and oil and gases, which release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide or CO2 and methane (CH4), trap heat and contribute to the warming of the Earth's surface. Other factors contributing to the climate change include deforestation, industrial processes, and agricultural practices.
The consequences of climate change include rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and ecological disruption. Rising sea levels are already affecting delta regions in countries like Egypt, Bangladesh, India, and Vietnam, leading to the disappearance of land and displacement of people. Islands in the Ganges Delta, such as the Sundarbans, are vanishing, with two islands completely gone in the last 30 years. Small Pacific nations like the Maldives, Kiribati, and Tuvalu, which consist of low-lying coral atolls, are also at risk of being submerged. Extreme weather events such as floods caused by coastal flooding are expected to increase as sea levels rise. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, predicts that a temperature rise of 2.0 degrees Celsius to 2.4 degrees Celsius by 2080 would put stress on water resources used by 1.2 billion people and expose an additional 16 million people to coastal flooding each year. If temperatures rise by 3.3 degrees Celsius over the same period, the stress on water resources would affect 2.5 to 3.2 billion people and expose an additional 29 million to coastal flooding annually. Ecological disruption is also a consequence of climate change, leading to the spread of diseases like dengue and diarrhea due to a lack of safe water, as well as malnutrition resulting from failed crops due to high temperatures or low rainfall. The ethical considerations related to climate change include fairness, justice, and responsibility towards future generations. The excerpt argues that we must stop harming and compensate the world's poor for the harm caused by climate change. This implies a sense of fairness and justice towards those who are disproportionately affected by climate change. The excerpt also mentions the need for a global ethic to guide international arrangements on climate change, indicating a recognition of the shared responsibility of nations and individuals. Additionally, the excerpt raises the issue of intergenerational justice by stating that the harm caused by climate change will continue to unfold for the next century, even if emissions are reduced to zero today. This suggests a responsibility towards future generations to mitigate and address the consequences of climate change.
Singer's perspective on climate change. Peter Singer believes that individuals have moral obligation to address climate change, even if governments fail to do so. He argues that if we can prevent something bad from happening without sacrificing morally significant, then we ought to do it. Singer uses the example of reducing personal carbon emissions to illustrate his point. He states that even though an individual's lifestyle changes may not have discernible impact on anyone, it is still the right thing to do. Singers acknowledge that the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions may not have a significant effect on climate change as a whole, but he emphasized the importance of taking individual responsibility and making a positive contribution. Singers proposes a multifaceted approach to mitigating climate change. He emphasizes, he emphasizes both individual and collective responsibility in addressing the issue. Singers, argues that individuals should take personal actions to reduce their carbon footprint, such as changing their diet, improving home insulation, and using renewable energy sources. However, he acknowledges that individual actions alone may not have a significant impact on climate change. Therefore, Singers also calls for policy changes, particularly from governments, to address the issue effectively. He highlights the importance of international cooperation in tackling climate change, stating that governments have obligation to provide aid to the world's poor and to make that aid effective as possible. Singer suggests that individuals should support aid agencies and contribute to collect efforts to combat climate change. Overall, Singer's approach involves a combination of individual actions, policies, and international cooperation to address the problem of climate change. Summary: the key points discussed in the report are as follows. Climate change is the result of human activities such as burning fossil fuels, which release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and alter the climate. Climate change has led to an increase in global temperatures causing harm to people around the whole world. The World Health Organization stated that climate change caused an additional 140,000 deaths in 2004, mainly due to climate sensitive diseases like malaria. Singers argues against the view that our only obligation to strangers is to avoid harming harming them, suggesting that climate change presents new ethical challenges that required us to consider the well-being of others beyond our immediate community.
Climate change is an urgent issue that requires immediate action from all of us. The consequences of inaction are severe and will disproportionately affect the most vulnerable populations. While government action is crucial, we cannot rely solely on them to address this crisis. Each individual has the power to make a difference. Consider the examples of a person who reduces their carbon emissions from 20 tons to 2 tons per year. Although this change may not have a discernible impact on its own, when multiplied by the actions of millions, it becomes significant. Every ton of carbon dioxide reduced contributes to slowing down the rate of climate change. Furthermore, by making sustainable choices in our daily lives, such as adopting plant-based diets, improving home insulation, and using renewable energy sources, we can collectively reduce our carbon footprint. These actions may seem small, but they add up and create a ripple effect that can inspire others to follow suit. The urgency of addressing climate change cannot be overstated. Rising global temperatures, extreme weather events, and the loss of biodiversity are already affecting communities worldwide. By taking action now, we can mitigate the worst impacts of climate change and create a more sustainable future for ourselves and future generations. It is important to remember that individual actions alone are not enough. We must also advocate for systemic changes, hold governments and corporations accountable, and support policies that prioritize renewable energy and sustainable practices. By combining individual efforts with collective action, we can create a powerful force for change. In conclusion, the time to act on climate change is now. Each of us has a role to play in addressing this global crisis. By making sustainable choices, inspiring others, and demanding action from those in power, we can make a significant impact and create a better world for all. So that is all for our presentation. Thank you.